going on, boys? It's Daddy Big here, back on the podcast. Daddy Big. I haven't even said the name. I haven't even relished in it. Daddy Big's Deliriums. Should say that more often.
Oh yeah. The name of the podcast.
The name of the podcast.
Welcome to Daddy Big's Deliriums.
But you can call me Cameron. Anyways, so yeah, I'm back with Lucas again, my favorite little boy.
Oh yeah, it's me.
Oh, I thought the microphone cable was being crushed by the chair. It wasn't. We're fine. But anyways, so today we're gonna be talking about the creative process. Now, Lucas and I are both little creative dreamer boys.
Yes, we are.
I'm as some of you may know, I'm a musician. Plug the channel. And
Oh yeah.
Lucas is a filmmaker. Plug the channel. But yeah. So we both we work with commonly different mediums, but throughout our lives we found that the creative process we go through is more similar than it is different, even though we were making different things. So I think we're just kind of gonna open that up a little bit and kind of just talk about it. So,
all right. So, for me, the creative process usually begins with something that happens or me just having a little idea for something. And I find that I have a lot of those throughout the day. I even sometimes I have this notebook and I'll just write stuff down, and then ideas will come from these little things that I write down. So I've been developing a few different movie ideas for bigger movies, and usually I don't do anything with those. I just kind of keep thinking about them, and then if I'm being realistic about something, I usually have to sit down and get really serious about what the prompt is. Like, for example, for my past 3 short films, the first one was for an English class, and the prompt was the theater of the absurd. So it's basically life is meaningless, and we have to accept it in order to enjoy it.
yeah.
So that was the prompt, and then I had to come up with a story that I could tell in film, giving the resources I have available for that prompt. And usually what happens is I'll have some ideas, I'll write some stuff down, I'll let it simmer for a few days, I'll go back to it, I'll keep writing stuff down, and then I'll show it to Cam, and then Cam usually
That's
has some
me.
ideas. Yeah, and then he usually adds a bit of his own personality and insight into what I've made, and it makes it a lot better.
I guess we should explain too that I introduce it as I make music and you make films, but a lot of times that overlaps. Just to explain it a little more, we make films together.
Yeah.
So Lucas is like the screenwriter and all that stuff, the brain behind the the operation.
Yeah,
in,
sure.
in the so I feel like sometimes we said before that you handle the visuals and I handle like the sound,
Yeah.
because I will write original music and produce it and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I've also commonly been a lead actor.
Yeah, he has consistently been the lead actor.
Because he knows for a fact that I'm going to be easy to emotionally extort.
Exactly, because I just know that he's
of the
there.
project.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, so that hopefully that kind of explains a little more when we are, talking about this stuff. But yeah, if you did want to check it out, link in the description.
Oh,
but,
yeah.
Oh yeah. But we're working on our big third film right now, but right now only one of them is public. But
Yeah.
But yeah, getting back to what you were saying about me adding to the films and stuff.
Yeah, so like Cam just said, so usually these are the steps. So I write it down, I write the script, then I make a shot list of all the clips that I'll need to get for the entire movie. And at the same time, Cam is usually preparing for the role in various ways.
Yeah.
Mostly by making the music. I feel like hasn't writing the music help you find your character as well?
Yeah, for sure. And I think that I know that a lot of times in like professional and film, what happens is the entire film is produced and put together and edited, and then what'll happen is everyone will sit down in a room, including like the director and everyone else, and then they'll talk about the music.
Yeah.
And then like they'll be like, all right, go write some music for us, and like months later the entire soundtrack will be done, So it's
Yeah.
like it's a very separate process where like the amount of connection between like the screenwriters and the directors and all that stuff and the actual music that ends up being in final is from what I've heard from people that are like real professionals that have really made soundtracks. What I've heard is that because I was lucky enough to have a bit of like a brief master class with with someone is what I've heard is that yeah, it's kind of like the process is very separate. But Lucas and I have always
Yeah,
worked very
absolutely.
closely together. And there have been times when the music sometimes informs the visuals in the story more than the other way around.
Yeah.
For our last film we made, which is the one that's public currently, called Solace. We made a short film, and well, a truly short, like it was like 6 minutes, wasn't it?
Yeah, yeah.
And
It was for a film contest,
yeah, with a
and
time limit.
yeah, it had to be 5 minutes long.
And that put like a lot of creative strain on us because we had to decide exactly what we wanted. And about a year prior, I had been working on on like a series of miniatures, more or less, of a piece called First Love, and that we ended up. It's very that piece is very episodic,
It
so
is.
we decided to end up using that for the film, and it turned out to be more of the editing in the story almost kind of fell in line with the arc of the song, you know.
Yeah.
And it's like that was one of those interesting situations where like we really worked together on that kind of stuff, you know.
Yeah, for our first film, Lee's Carnival, I feel like for that one, we planned it out and we filmed it, and then Cam made the music, and the music lined up with what we had filmed. So it was more making the music for the film.
Yeah, for sure.
But then for Solace, it was the complete opposite. I was filming and editing around the music
Yeah.
because yeah, because we were limited in that way. We only had 5 minutes, and the song was made, the song was final, so I really had no choice, but it ended up working really well, and
Mm-hmm.
the song helped inform me to tell the story in 5 minutes.
Yeah,
Because,
for sure.
yeah,
'Cause
we ended up,
the song was like very much so intentionally wrote the song as a series of like short episodes to tell a story, you know.
yeah,
It's like there will be a segment that's like 30 seconds that conveys a feeling or conveys an emotion. And then it so happens that the arc I wrote works as a story arc. Because I mean,
yes,
it's almost like I did that on purpose. You know, I wanted to write a story
yeah,
arc song. So we were able to use that really well for a film. And it turned out to be pretty interesting. But
yes,
it was interesting because the song turned out different for the fact that it was in the film, you know. And to me now it's like the film and the song are pretty inseparable in my mind, you know.
yeah,
And it's like I actually ended up adding an entirely different section to the piece because of the film. Because I was thinking about how the climax would work, and we kind of wanted to have that big. It's kind of hard to explain, like just like out of like without context, but but I ended up adding an entirely new section to the end of the song, and like it's just interesting how like you and I have our like very specific ideas and have our own visions, but when our visions collide, it's like they collide at this point where certain things just we kind of change each other in like slight
yeah,
ways, and that is like I feel like those slight changes we make to each other's creative process is really what makes our films, you know,
yeah,
like makes the
yeah,
projects that we do together. It's
yeah,
not
I
like
agree.
because like that's I feel like that's where the identity comes from is just those small tweaks that like there are times when like I've given you a shot or given you an idea for a story or like you've given me. I remember when we were working on Lee's Carnival, and like obviously this is getting into a lot of specific examples, but remember the first and fifth track,
Yep,
how I or the first and fourth rather, for Lee's Carnival, it was an absurdist film, right? And this one can't be made public because it has copyrighted music in it,
yeah.
and we got banned
Yeah,
in
we
all
used
countries.
2 songs by the Beatles,
Yeah,
and
it was actually really thematically important to the film,
yeah,
but yeah, that's the kind of thing where this is not going to be public, unfortunately.
yeah,
But but for my soundtrack was for like the middle act, and the Beatles songs were for the first and third. So
yes,
I wanted, and the second act was more or less like the paradigm shift of like the character switching. You know, it was like the turning point of the story, right?
yeah,
And
exactly.
I had 4 tracks to work with, and I wanted to illustrate that shift completely using like song thematics. So my plan was to make the beginning of that act feel wispy and distant and light, and the end feel very like not present, right? Like not rhythmically or musically present, and the end track to be very deep and dark and dense and heavy and
Yeah,
present. So like they would illustrate, and the middle tracks would do it too, but it illustrate that whole paradigm shift. I remember we were at lunch, and I was like trying to explain all this to you, and you were like, and you were just taking it all in, and you were just like, wouldn't it make more sense to flip that? like have the dark and present at first and the light and wispy at the end. And I just thought about it. And I was like, oh my god, that's such a good idea. So it's like
Yeah.
that was one of
Yeah,
those
I remember
moments for me
that.
where like literally you made that single thought you had about like my idea that I had worked so hard on, developed so hard. You're just like, oh, but what if you flipped it around? And I was like, oh my god.
Yeah.
It's like it's those little moments that I feel like make our creative process, and that's like something that's so special is that like you and I have each other and like we work together so well in a way that like we like our identity is created by our actual partnership, and I feel
Yeah.
like that makes us like true creative partners,
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. So, okay. I feel like you did the exact same thing for me with Solace because the whole time I've been planning this one specific dance scene in Solace, and I had
Hmm.
this one song that was inspiring it. You think I should say the like exact song?
I don't even know what it is.
Okay.
I don't
Uh,
remember you mentioning this to me.
the song "A Woman" by Mumford and Sons.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
I remember.
I'll keep listening to that, and that was what I pictured in the background for the dance scene, and it didn't coincide with the song that Cam made, um, and that was because I was planning for the dance scene to be in the middle of the movie, or in the middle of the short film rather than at the end. So what I had to do was rearrange some things, and what I did was I took the song that Cam made and I sketched it out as if it were like a plot in a book, and I had like
Yeah.
yeah.
Plot sketching is really, really important. We can talk about like we can go in depth with plot sketching, but
Yeah,
that's really important.
yeah, we could, but I had this like one line that went like up and down,
Exactly.
just kind of going like showing where the plot was going, and I had little timestamps for
Hmm.
each
Hmm.
section and what each section would represent in the film. And then when I had that like drawn out and visualized before me, it just kind of clicked, and I realized that I can't have the dance scene be here and feel like this because that wouldn't make any sense and that won't coincide with the song. So I moved it around, and it ended up working perfectly
Hmm.
in this other way because of Cam's song. And
Yeah.
I don't think it could have ever worked the other way because of the time constraints.
Yeah, for sure. And like the thing with Solace too is it was just an interesting project because of the time restriction.
Yeah,
Because
for
we got
sure.
like for our first film it was about 15 minutes long, maybe more like 14.
Yeah.
And for Solace we had literally 3 times as much material for it.
We
But
filmed so
we
much
had so
stuff.
much stuff.
Yeah.
And there was so much that never even saw the light of day.
Yeah.
But like it was just really difficult because like we had so like it was very dense, and I feel like in a way the story ended up being a little bit more contrived than and confusing than it should have been. Partly just because, we're not like as good at the showing not telling thing in like a
Yeah.
non-dialogue sense. Like that was just like a learning process for us. But also just like trying to fit that much in such a short amount of time. I think that was the other thing too with like the song like there was one segment specifically, like where there's a huge crescendo and like there's the flute and then the piano part you really like da 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 that part.
Yeah.
That whole segment is like 15 seconds long, and that was like the dance scene. That was supposed to be like a major part of your original screenplay.
Yeah.
So it's like there were just moments like that where the storytelling got kind of condensed and stretched in different ways that made it
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah,
But
that was
but yeah, I think back to the whole plot sketching thing, because this is something that's actually a very specific idea about creative processes, right? Because that's kind of what we're here to talk about. We've kind of been, I mean, like, we've been talking about like how we work together on our specific projects, but like, unless people go and watch them, they won't exactly know what we're talking about. But like, getting into more like specific, in a different way, like actual concepts, you know. Not that we haven't been talking, we've just been linking it to an outside source, but about like plot sketching. One summer I went to go study with a professor at a university, and I don't know I don't know if I don't know if that's a case where like you should actually say their real name. I don't know. Well, I won't
Yeah,
for
I
the sake of
wouldn't.
it. But I this person taught me a lot about music, right? And it was honestly, even though like we literally had 2 private lessons that were an hour long each, but in that time, like the amount that my creative process changed from learning or like from studying with her was just insane. Like the amount of things that she taught me in such a starkly short amount of time. It's just crazy, right?
Yeah.
And one of the biggest things she taught me is how like compose, because I'm getting back to the musician element, right? Composing without the limitations of notation, right?
Yeah.
Because that's kind of a modern thing, is composing in different ways. There are composers that are like visual art composers that will literally make storyboards. Like their scores are one of a kind because they make
Yeah.
storyboards that like have these graphics and words and poems and lines, sketching and duration. It's just like crazy stuff, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But what they do is like it's basically like a loose outline for your performers, and it's like, oh, like you draw like a timeline. It's like I want a big impact here, and you can like draw different. It's like I could get into it forever, right? But the most basic form of that like timeline based composition is plot sketching. Is like kind of what we've started calling it now, I guess.
Yeah.
But basically, what you do is you just like draw a line that represents the rough like dynamic story curve of the song.
Yeah.
So like if it's lower, it'll be like a more subdued. Higher, it'll be like maybe a climax, that kind of thing. And that is so helpful because what I'll do is I'll get a piece of paper out and I'll sketch out the line, the dynamic line, and I'll break it into different segments. And one thing that there's this piece that I performed one time. It's called Variations on a Korean Folk Song by John Barnes Chance. I think that's his name.
Yeah. That was the one that we played in band, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
back in our sophomore year. But yeah, that one that piece is actually really fascinating, to be honest with you.
That was a good piece.
The thing that really fascinated me about it is that it takes a very, very simple motif and riffs it in so many ways, and it's like you don't even. It's just really, really good motivic use, right? Because you don't even really know. Like it's hard to tell that you're using this like the whole da 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 da. That thing. It's like like dude literally inverted the melody to be like da 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 da. That whole thing, you know.
Yeah.
I'm sure my voice sounds awesome after I've been recording this podcast for like 2 hours and haven't warmed up singing, but
Yeah.
you get the point. But it's like one thing that the thing that fascinated me the most about that song was the composer's use of expression text to separate segments, because you know like it was very common for music to be separated by movements, and usually those movements have names, you know. And I'm kind of into like single word edgy movement names like dark and that kind of thing, you know. That's kind of my bag. But basically I think expression text is just, it's like Italian words that just like mean things, right?
Yeah.
So like in music, like we have dynamics like piano, forte, that literally means soft and loud in Italian, you know?
Yeah.
And it's like there are all these different expression texts, like dulce means sweet.
Yep.
Or like I'm trying to think of something else that I actually know. Allegro means like moderate.
Yep.
You know, so like they're just like, and that's more of a dynamic word, but or tempo, sorry, but literally like it's different subsegments in variations would be separated by an expression text label. So we would talk about like, oh, the sostenuto section, or oh, the larghetto section, or the vivace section, you know.
Yeah.
And
I
like,
remember he would always our band director would always like refer to those sections
yeah, exactly,
by those names.
and like that just absolutely blew my mind, because it's like that's just such a cool concept. And I'm working on a piece now that's quite similar. It takes similar motifs and rearranges them in different ways.
Yeah.
And that's one thing I'm doing, is I'm thinking of the song as expression text. And I just, something about that is just so cool to me, you know?
Yeah.
Because it's like, and I remember like with the whole First Love storyboard for Making Solace, I remember I made that. I made a
You
visual
did, yes.
plot of it first, and then I sent it to you, and you were fascinated by it and did your own. And we
Yeah.
actually went back and forth and like made ones based off the last one, you know?
Yeah.
We went back
kept
and forth on it.
updating them.
Yeah, for sure. But I remember it's a really good way to visualize things, because what I'll do, right, is I'll separate the piece into different segments, and I'll like make bullet points underneath the line, and I'll use, and this is kind of just getting into like what this teacher taught me when I studied with them over the summer, was that like it's so important for me to use words for music, right? Because it's like it's so much easier to figure out what mood you want when you have words like dark or expressive, you know. And expression text is just that, but fancy, and makes you into just pretentious versions of descriptive words, you know.
Yeah.
Also known as Italian, but yeah. So it's like when I label sections as being like maestoso, you know, it's like that just like gives me a place to go, you know, and it like puts that in my brain. And I also just am just so in love with the idea of organizing a song like that, because it's just really cool to me, you know.
Yeah.
So that's just kind of and it's like when I'm making songs, it's really important that I get that like if it's a more symphonic based piece with like lots of different parts. Lots of times if I'm making a singer-songwriter piece, I don't really worry about it because it just kind of writes itself and just kind of flows, and it's like a conversation with myself. It just goes in different segments and different directions on its own. But if I'm making a more complex piece, it's really important for me to plot that out, get the line, the dynamic curve with different segments. And it just is like, especially there's a piece I'm working on now, I mentioned it, where it's going to have 3 movements and individual like sub movements based on expression text. And it's like, it's just so important and so cool to me. You know what I mean? And that's just like part of the creative process part of it for me is like finding the balance between like inspiration and work, because it's like a lot of times I operate solely off of I get the idea and I run with it. But I feel like that's something we, as creative people, we run into a lot is the fact that, making our stuff is oftentimes heavily based on how we're feeling a certain day, or like how, it's like it's very, very dependent on mood and feeling.
Yeah.
It's like how do you feel like you like when you like how do you feel like you get inspiration and cultivate it and that kind of thing? Like just talk about that a little bit.
Getting inspiration for something?
Yeah, because like I feel like most of the time when I work on my projects, it's like because I like get this spark for it. I get this, and like, I mean, I know you do the same thing where like I'll get on something and then I'll just be like, all I can do is do that. And like I just have to write it all out. Like there'll be times when I'll just write music for like 6 hours straight. And by the end of it, I'm completely exhausted.
Yeah.
So it's like I know you have similar things. So
Yeah, but it feels really good at the end, right?
yeah.
Yeah. So usually when I get an idea for a short film, well, I guess that the first 2 examples, Lee's Carnival and Solace, those both had very, very heavy time constraints.
Yeah.
Not just in terms of how long they're supposed to be. That was just for Solace mostly, but they had due dates. So usually I have to be thinking about them constantly in order to get them done. And whenever that happens, I mean, that just kind of takes over my world, and that's all I want to do. So
yeah, for sure.
It's usually not a problem. Like for Solace, I mean, I was a little bit stressed out, like just trying to make sure that we could finish it in time for the contest. But it wasn't too bad because I was already thinking about it constantly anyways. But here's another example. So Cam and I are working on our 3rd short film called Paperboy.
Teasing the title out here.
Yeah.
Big release. You heard it here first on Daddy Pig.
Yes, sir. That's the title of it. It's called Paperboy, and this one's gonna be much bigger than all the other ones. It's just gonna be a lot longer.
I can't wait to spend blood, sweat, and tears on that one.
It's gonna have audio. It's actually gonna have dialogue. Which,
oh my god.
Our other ones have had barely any dialogue. This one's gonna have a lot of dialogue. It also has a lot more people. It basically has an ensemble cast. I'm really, really excited for it. And we filmed most of it over the summer. Unfortunately, we're going to have to film the rest next year at the beginning of the year because it's kind of too cold and too late now to do the rest.
In fairness, we probably still could, but at this point, we're just trying to like focus on school, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And I think you're just not really in the point to get back into it.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. It's like you have to be in the point to get into it. You know what I mean? So it's like, how do you work with that?
Unless you want to like swim in a lake at this time of year.
I think I'm all right.
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, like you just said, I'm also like not really focusing on it right now because I've got a lot of other things on my mind right now, especially school, stuff like that. But during the summer, when I was working on it, that was all I thought about. Like when I would go to work at Jimmy John's, it'd just be like me monotonously making sandwiches, like doing all the tasks that I was assigned to do. But my brain was just constantly thinking about the movie. And there's just this period of about 2 to 3 weeks where I was constantly like writing and rewriting and location scouting and getting props and getting costumes and contacting people and organizing filming days and all of that. And then there was this 1 week where I filmed basically every day, where Cam and I filmed every day.
Yep.
For several hours.
Yeah, that was the grind.
Yeah, that was one of the last weeks of summer. But it was amazing. I mean, I felt so alive and I felt so in my element.
Yeah. That's the crazy thing is it's like, making this channel is fun and doing all this content, but there's still nothing close to the true like I mean, for like I said, for you it's film, for me it's music. There's just nothing like that feeling of. It really does, like, it can just consume you, and like that's something that has to be tempered, you know, because you have to be careful not to. Because I mean, like when we were making Solace, you literally almost drove yourself to the point of like self-destruction.
I didn't know. I didn't.
You
I was very
kind of
careful
did.
about
You kind of did.
When?
When you were like when we were working on the film and you didn't get sleep and you still had school and then you were sick.
Oh, for Solace. Oh, I thought you
Yeah.
meant Paperboy.
No, for Solace.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, that was really bad.
Yeah, yeah. For Solace, I think in another podcast, like I talk about a point of time
we talked
when
about
I
it
didn't
briefly.
sleep.
Yeah.
That was when I was making Solace. For a solid month, I just didn't sleep.
Enough.
Yeah.
Not nearly as much as you should have.
And then
I
got
remember
sick.
you coming to school with like your hood up, looking dead. And we were all
Yeah.
like, "Bro, what's wrong with you?" And you're just like, "I'm a sleepy boy."
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I don't know. Like thinking back though, I absolutely like. Okay, maybe it's a stretch to say I would do it again the exact same way.
Yeah.
But I still like that was a really great time for me productively. Like maybe not like health wise.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I'm still really proud of the final product that we got. But that's why I'm so excited for Paperboy, because there aren't any deadlines and there's no restrictions.
Yeah, because like, you know, there have been times before when I've made projects that have had a heavy due line or due date, you know, and it's like they'll like there's a certain product you get from having a due date and a certain product you get from it being time based. Because you know, like there are composers out there who like they'll write a piece once every 10 years and they'll be like, "This is me" on a page, and it's like a masterwork, you know.
Yeah.
But it's like there are other composers that just like pump stuff out constantly.
Yeah.
Just pump out like sixth grade, middle school pieces, you know, like stuff that's like mediocre, not that inspired, but they're getting it out there, you know. So it's like
Yeah.
finding that balance of like having projects that excite you, but also, you know, getting stuff done. Because it's like,
Yeah, exactly.
'cause I mean, I have had pieces that I've been unreleased for years that I have still been working on, you know.
Yeah.
And like there have been other times when I've had a due date and I'm like, okay, I gotta line this up, you know.
Yeah.
So it's like it's just that's like let's be clear, that's an entirely different topic, the difference between inspiration and work that we could get
Yeah.
into for another 40 minutes, and we will at some point. But
Can I bring up two quotes?
yeah, go for it.
All right, so these are kind of contrasting quotes. I don't remember where one of them is from, but it's like creativity isn't being creative when you have every resource at your disposal. Creativity comes when you have restrictions, and it's how you get past those. So you can think about that, like how even when you're under all this pressure, you can still produce some of your best work and figure out ways to get through it. And there's another one that I got. There's this YouTuber who I watch. I don't remember his name, but he made a short film, like a real short film, like an hour and a half short film.
I think that's just a film. That's an hour and a half.
Oh, that's true. Okay, yeah. Never mind. He made a movie, and he talks about the process of what it was like for him to make a movie with like a budget of $2,000 and 5 actors while he was in college. And it's kind of crazy. He straight up just edited every day, all day for like a week. Kind of crazy. But he says that if you don't give yourself enough time to do something right, you're not going to like the result. And
Yeah.
so I also like to draw from that quote. I mean, those are two contrasting ideas, but they're both really important, because it's always nice to have a lot of time, but even when you don't have a lot of time, you should still try. And you shouldn't use that as an excuse to not do something. You shouldn't just think that because you have a time restriction, you shouldn't try.
Yeah. And I think that kind of tying into that whole idea of the first quote you said about you know, having restrictions and that being true creativity. I mean, you and I have like one of our major restrictions has been that we film with your iPhone.
Okay,
And don't-
listen.
Well,
Listen. That's
listen.
not a
No,
terrible
no, like
restriction.
actually, no, like here's the thing. Think about it. All of our films have been, technically speaking, silent films. We've
That
had
is
narration, we've had audio,
That is
but
true.
like we've never had any in-shot dialogue happen before.
That
Well,
is
we
also
kind
true.
of did a workaround in Lee's Carnival, but
And we're doing a workaround for Paperboy.
yeah, but that's narration. That's a difference.
That is true. But it's still not in the moment, you know?
Yeah, but my point is that it's like that's just not being able to have dialogue in scenes because we don't have the equipment for it. Like I think we're probably at the point where if we really wanted to, we could make it happen.
Yeah,
But, like,
probably.
But that's just like been a major restriction that we've had to work around, you know? And
Yeah.
also just like my music teacher once told me that I'm the poster child for doing a lot with a little, because like I've produced entire songs with one vocal microphone in Audacity,
Yeah.
like my song on my channel Only You. I At this point I actually have a lot more gear than I did when I filmed that. I have a proper instrument mic and a board and a lot of stuff that would help me make that sound better now.
Yeah.
But at the time I just used this microphone that I'm talking into right now. Actually, specifically the one you're talking into.
Yeah.
The exact same
let's
model.
go.
I use the MXL 990. I love this thing to death. But yeah, it's like, so it's just being able to work with what you have,
Yeah. Yeah.
And like you and I, like, we don't have a budget, literally no budget.
We have no budget.
And it's like we've just been working off of like our drive to get things done.
We've been working off of our Jimmy money.
Yeah,
And that's about it.
And like our ability to like recently, now that we've actually gotten more people involved, our ability to like inspire people.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
been like, that's one of the main things about you that like has always like that's always fascinated me, is that you have this ability to just like be so infectious with what you're doing that other people want to be a part of it,
Aw.
because it's like, like when we're the film we're working on right now, Paperboy, like you said, we have an ensemble cast,
We do.
and it's just like all of like our friends, and it's like people that normally wouldn't, people that normally would never want to make a film or get serious about it, but you're just like your drive and inspiration is just so infectious that you just inspire other people to want to be a part of what we do,
Thank you.
and it's like,
That's really nice.
it's like I don't I don't have that, I feel like I don't, but that's what makes you like, that's why you wear the director's cap,
Well, I wouldn't say that you don't have it.
I mean, I have it in a different way.
Yeah, because I mean, when you're working on music, you're usually like working on it by yourself.
Yeah.
Like you don't need other people there. But I feel like when you're performing it, like for example, with the song that we're doing for Musicians Outreach.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you just wrote that, and we all just learned it in like a few minutes.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, it's just like, I don't know. I feel like that's one thing too, is that a big part of the creative process is the determination to carry it out, right?
Oh,
Because, like,
absolutely.
That's another thing too. Is like, and it's something we touched on in another one of our podcasts, is the fact that you just have to do things. You can't sit around and wait for it to happen. You just have to do it,
Yeah, yeah.
And it's like, with being creative, it's like you have to have so much drive, and like it's just that's one downfall of working off of inspiration, like, because I'm so dependent on it sometimes, is it's like when you don't have that inspiration come to you, you have to find a way to procure it and make it yourself,
Yeah.
And it's like another thing I've always found inspiring about you working on our films is like you actually, like, you have so much drive that like you're going to get it done, like when we were filming for Lee's Carnival, we had to get shots in a bowling alley.
We did.
And I am dreadful at bowling, and frankly I hate it in large part to this filming process.
Yeah, you're
But,
kind of scarred by
what happened
bowling.
was we needed a shot of me getting a strike. Like, we needed it. Like, it was a very, very important moment in the narrative that I got a strike. And poor Lucas just had to keep going back to the counter and paying for more games
I paid for 4 games.
because I couldn't do it. And I think I counted, it took me like over 90 shots. It was literally like it was like a movie moment in itself. It was like my second to last shot of
No.
like our last game.
No, it was the last shot.
It was the last shot?
Yeah, it was the last shot of the last game.
Yeah, after he was like, okay, after this we'll be done, because I was like physically hurting. I was
Yeah,
like
yeah.
basically like it was bad.
Yeah.
But I remember like Lucas monkeyed his way up to the end of because we were at the very end of the bowling alley, like the very last one,
Yeah.
and there was a little median on the side that he could walk down to film and get a better angle.
Yeah, so I
just-
like crept all the way up to the pins, and
Yeah.
I'd film, and then I'd like run back, give Cam a little pep talk,
Yeah,
and he'd do it again.
And I just remember like it was like the last game. I was so down on myself. I was like, Lucas, I can't do this. This is so bad. Like, I hate this so much. You just kept being. You were just like, no, it's okay. It's okay. We'll get it. And it's just like I was like so down, and you just kept being so positive. And then like when we finally got it, I just remember you jumping up and down.
Yeah.
And you're like, yes, we did it.
I was so happy. I think I was probably like a bit delirious too.
Probably.
Yeah.
As was I. And then
Yeah,
I
you
remember
were.
when I was trying to put my shoes back on, I couldn't put my shoes on because like they were too tight for me. And I was like, I literally started laughing and crying in the middle of the bowling
You
alley.
started laughing hysterically, which ironically was something that I needed to film.
Yeah.
So then you were like, Lucas, why aren't you rolling? Start filming.
Yeah, that was the most raw shot in the film.
And I did, and it's in the film. You could see it, and that's
for
all real.
Well, you can't. You viewers can't see it. It's not public.
Oh, that's true.
Big L.
Yeah.
But
what if we just published like the middle section?
we could always rework it.
That is true. Maybe that's a.
You'd have to
future
completely
project.
rewrite the first and third acts to not be Beatles based, but
That is true.
it's possible. I mean, it was our first film. We'll have to remaster it at some point, right?
Yeah.
But my point is just like the amount of like positivity and drive you showed then, it was just like insane to me, you know. And it's
Thank
like
you.
because that's something I've always struggled with is having the determination to like finish projects. And it's like the reason why so many people, I mean, like an example with this YouTube thing, right? I've been trying my best to keep up with it, and like the most important thing for making like a gaming channel is consistency, from what I can understand. And it's like, a lot of people run into this problem where like they try something and it doesn't work out at first, and then they're just like, okay, I guess I'm done, you know. But it's like you can't do that, you know. You have to have the drive and the determination to see the end goal, you know. And it's like that's the reason why so many people like can't do what we do is because they just fall apart and can't bring it to the finish line, you know. It's like that's something that like you're way better at than me, is like just having the drive to finish something. Like once you set your mind to making a film and like really put it in motion, like I have no doubt that you're gonna finish it, you know.
Thank you. Well, I mean, like with your channel, you've definitely been doing great. You've been uploading constantly. Like, it's not still every day, is it?
No.
Yeah, because of school.
God, no.
But before school, it was every day, and now it's still
like,
very.
The longest I
consistent.
haven't uploaded is like 3 days.
Yeah.
As a gap.
That's insane. That's a lot of work.
Especially since a lot of my videos are very intensive.
Yeah.
With editing like 3 or 4 hours of raw footage from like zombies games and stuff. But I'm trying to balance it out and do a variety of content so that I don't burn myself out, because talking videos like and stuff like this, it's like very simple, very very simple to produce, because now that I have the equipment for it, you know, I just like, especially for talking videos where they're like 5 to 10 minutes, I sit down and I talk for like 5 minutes, and then I put literally it takes like 2 minutes to edit. I put it in the editing software, put the footage over it that I already have pre-recorded, add a fade in and out, and then I'm done. You know, it's like, but the thing is, that's a very different type of content, right? Because you have to have the ideas and have the right presentation. Whereas like for gaming videos, you can just game and just put it together, you know. But it's like those videos, so it's like I'm trying to balance it so I can try to be consistent, you know. But you know, like that's the thing, is like obviously I'm no Jake Paul, 5 mil in 6 months, never been done before. But like, and I recently, like the past week or so, I've been, at least as of talking, I've been in a pretty bad lull as far as like growth has been going. And obviously, like I'm not going to be growing as much as I did when I uploaded every day. You know, like uploading every day just gives you a lot of YouTube algorithm points.
It does.
But you know, it's like that's okay to me. And like I know that it might be like years until I get my break, like my real break. But like my idea is that if I keep making high quality content that I'm passionate about, then the right people will latch onto it, you know. I don't want to use like clickbait or like use a type of video that's going to get me the wrong type of attention, you know, because like I want to create like a fan base that's more consistent, you know. So people that like actually like my content will watch it rather than just like because I do there's one video on my channel as of recording that has like over 1,000 views, and all my other videos average like maybe 50. But it's like, you know, I remember like I was watching a YouTuber talk about making videos, and he was saying like, just think about it like this: if you make one video a month that gets 1 million views, right, that's great. But if you upload every day videos that get 50,000 views, after a month you'll have 1.5 million views instead of just the 1 million from the one video. And it's like, so it's like if you can be consistent, and like even though my numbers aren't that high, obviously it's like that's not really what it's about for me right now. I'm just trying to do my best, you know. And that's just like, it's like it's nothing like making music, but it's kind of like having that determination and having that drive to actually get the projects done. You know? And that's all just a part of the whole, and because like everything's connected, right? It's all part of those different creative processes.
That was part of the reason why we decided to put like the short films on YouTube, not just so that we could show our friends easier, but because like what if other people see them? Like
Yeah,
what if other people notice them? Yeah, so that's what we're thinking about with that.
for sure, for sure. But
Because you just really want to get them out there.
yeah, it's just about getting stuff out there and having a drive to finish
Yeah.
it, you know.
Yeah. Because even though like I've had that channel for a good while and it has 2 videos.
2 videos.
Yeah. The thing is, I've considered like making like smaller videos to put on that channel, like maybe little behind the scenes videos or just I don't know, just some everyday stuff. But I've always just thought, no, I'm gonna put my highest quality videos in that. If it takes me a year to finish Paperboy, which it probably will, I'll take that time and then I'll put the highest quality short film that I can make on YouTube. And even if it doesn't do well because of that, because I'm not uploading every day, that's okay because I don't know, it's quality over quantity.
For sure. And like that's the thing is like for like that's part of the big reason why I started my music channel and my gaming channel at the same time. Because like I want to be in this mode of making content, and it's like my music videos would probably do a lot better if they were on my gaming channel, just because like my gaming channel has way more subs and way more concurrent viewers. But the problem is like my music channel is like about my music, you know, and like it's very focused.
Yeah.
Like I'm gonna put out my products there, like my finished work.
Yeah.
And it's like if I ever want to get in front of a mic and talk about something, like that's what my gaming channel is for, you know. And like
exactly.
this is basically just like my content dump where I throw whatever I want.
Yeah.
you
like,
know.
I also have another channel that's way bigger than the film channel, and I've considered like I don't know, just like putting the films on that, but I haven't. Like, I want to keep those separate.
And like I know something a lot of people do is like if like they're a gaming focused creator, right? They'll have like their like main channel and then like a side channel for like more of the stuff like this that I do.
Yeah.
But I know like that would probably be more marketable if I had a more focused channel. But also it's like I don't really want my channel like I don't really want to be a zombies YouTuber. You know, I just want to be like me and like make content that I like, you know?
Yeah.
And it so happens that zombies is like pretty much the foundation of my channel at this point, and it probably will be for a long time. And like one thing was like when I was working on my Skyrim series that I've pretty much stopped. It'll probably be a thing where like when I'm compelled to make an episode like once every few months I will.
Yeah.
But it's like those videos consistently did way worse than my zombies videos because I've been building a fan base around that, you know.
Yeah.
But it's like but my talking videos have actually done very well. And like my second most viewed video is not a zombies video, it's a talking video, you know? So it's like it seems to me that, you know, people do appreciate like my thoughts, like in the stuff that I put out, you know?
Yeah.
It's like I want to, and that's like part of why I'm so excited about this podcast. It's just because it's like an expanded version of that, you know?
Yeah.
And yeah, maybe it would be more efficient or more lucrative to put different things on different channels, but you know, I kind of like having this channel just be a mashup of like just me, because you know it's my thoughts, the games I like to play, all that different. It's just very personal, you know.
Yeah.
And you know that's just kind of what I want from it, you know.
Yeah.
And again, this just like it just all ties in, you know. It's just all this whole idea, and having that drive to put stuff out there it makes a big difference. But
yeah, you also don't want to have like 4 or 5 different channels. It's good to keep it contained.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, we should probably think about wrapping it up. We're at like 45 minutes.
We're at 45 minutes?
Yeah, I feel like we barely even talked about anything. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's like there's so much more to say.
Oh man. Okay.
We'll have to I think one idea that came up is the difference between inspiration and work. Like just talking about productivity and all that stuff, we can totally like blow that out of the water and talk about that for another 40 minutes.
Yeah, for sure.
I think for now we probably ought to wrap this one up. But yeah, anything else you wanted to say?
I don't think so. For those of you who have stuck around this long, thanks for watching.
Yeah, for real.
Yeah, make sure to check out Cam's music channel and our film channel.
For sure. If you want to get a more in-depth look at some of the stuff we were talking about.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because we talked about a lot, especially with Solace. You can go check that out if you'd like.
Yeah. And also, I guarantee that I will finish Paperboy.
Let's go.
Sometime next year.
We'll make a feature project on that over here.
Yeah, that's a Lucas guarantee.
Lucas Price guarantee. I still have to upload First Love to my music channel. But the thing is, like, I have to remix it.
Yeah.
Because my mix of it's honestly kind of terrible because I mixed it without headphones.
Wow.
Well, I mixed it with headphones, but they were a pair of Sony headphones from the 90s.
That's
Now that I actually have my
that's
pair
not
of studio
ideal.
headphones, I want to
Nice.
mix that and master it again properly. Because there were some points where there were weird clips and cuts, and it just sounds bad. So I just haven't had the motivation to do that yet, I guess. But at some point, I want to upload that to my music channels. But
When you just said my first and last name, I thought you were like doxing me, but then I realized that I've put that in the credits.
I said your first and last name.
Yeah, you did.
No, I didn't.
Just now. No, you did.
No,
You'll see. You'll see. You did.
no, I didn't. I
No, you
I said
did.
you. No.
No, I said that's a Lucas guarantee, and then you said that's a Lucas Price guarantee.
Oh, maybe I did.
Can we rewind? Can we get a rewind on that?
Rewind time. But yeah. So yeah, I think just like this whole creative process thing, just long story short, like, throughout making films and music apart and together, Lucas and I have just discovered a lot of different things. And I think, this is a very general idea. I think what we'll have to do is, because we have so many thoughts on it, is find a more specific thing to break into
Yeah, for
in
sure.
a different episode, and then get more into that. But
Yeah.
yeah, this is kind of just blowing the lid off the whole thing. So
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, we're still new to podcasts. We're still figuring this out.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're doing pretty good. Just
I think we're doing. Yeah, we're doing pretty.
I think we got pretty consistent,
pretty
solid ideas, a pretty good flow.
Yeah.
But yeah, so probably wrap it up real quick. And yeah,
Peace.
thanks for listening, boys.